They put a 5-minute rule on me, which means I have about 10 minutes, so I'll make it quick.
You can't count.
You know, there's so many folks here that have been so important to the conservative cause of New Hampshire that I'd be hesitant to mention them all for fear of not mentioning someone who's very important. But I would like to mention Pam Tucker, who has done so much as Deputy Speaker, as a co-chair with me of the House Republican Alliance a couple of terms back, and Al Baldessaro, who stepped forward. You know, one of the secrets that you won't hear because, like a lot of things, the media doesn't report it this term, is that in many ways, particularly when we're in session, the leadership of the Republican Legislative Party in New Hampshire resides in those two individuals. They organize the debates, they bring forward the Republican argument, the argument of liberty, the arguments of fiscal responsibility and liberty government. So to the extent that we are preserving those that core philosophy in Concord this term is because of those two individuals. And I'd like it if you join me in acknowledging them. Now, I'll be leaving the legislature at the end of this term, and for many folks, when they have spent a few terms up there, as I had, they come to the end and they feel nostalgic about the institution. And certainly, I care deeply about New Hampshire, and I care deeply about its government. But where I'll feel the strongest nostalgia is for the House Republican Alliance. When I came to Concord in 2004, I met some astounding individuals. The great Paul Mirsky was a co-chair then, Cliff Newton, Mike Balboni, the ever-present Dan Itzy, people who were mentors for us as we came forward and tried to be effective as Republicans in Concord. And I got to the point where I was a chair, and the great Pam Tucker was a co-chair with me, and Carol McGuire. And, you know, the thought, the soul, the heart of the Republican Party lies in the House Republican Alliance and its approach of being attentive to the U.S. Constitution, the state constitution, our party platforms. They preserve what is best about the Republican Party, what's best about America when we consider legislation. Now, my goals are going to be different as they go forward. I'm looking seriously at running for Congress. I'm looking at running for Congress because once before, as we have today, we've seen twilight come to America. We saw it happen under Carter. We saw a president that could only speak of national malaise and diminishing expectations. And so, too, we have it under another president, a president who has brought disgrace to the United States internationally, who has brought domestic scandals one after another. You know, we just named the agencies: IRS, Department of Justice, National Security Agency. You know, what happened in Benghazi is a national tragedy, a national disgrace. He's brought legislative failures to our country. Obamacare is a prime example. He's brought policy failures. We've had stimulus bills that have wasted trillions of dollars, trillion-dollar deficits. We're into our 6th year of recession because of a misgovernment. And it's been enabled by folks like Speaker Pelosi, Jeanne Shaheen, Carol Shea Porter, Ann Custer. And now the time is for us to change. And with Carter, we ended up having Reagan. He brought morning to America. He ended communism. His administration did. He brought 20 years of prosperity to our country. And there's no reason that we can't turn it around one more time. And so that's the reason that I'm running for Congress, and I'd ask you for your support. There's a woman who's with me here today, Cassie Stepanek, if you could just raise your hand there. If you could talk to her, we're looking for grassroots support, financial support, and I'd appreciate it. But I'm here for a very important reason this evening, and that's to honor someone who has been an inspiration to all of us in effectively bringing forward the absurdities of the liberal progressive dialogue. We have watched him. It came to my attention for the first time when I saw the videos he did on Acorn. He took humor and he took a direct confrontational approach, and he took a corrupt organization, a racketeering organization, Acorn, and effectively defunded it. The power of one individual has been demonstrated to us by James O'Keefe, and we've seen him do that with a number of agencies, Planned Parenthood, and in New Jersey, Teachers Union. I remember his video of Teachers Gone Wild, and he showed his ability to demonstrate the corruption of the liberal, progressive governance in our country when we saw what he did here in Manchester, walking in, demonstrating that the argument that many of us have been making for years, for decades, that our voter system is subject to fraud, he demonstrated it on one day. And we're very thankful for that. These issues aren't going to be easy issues to solve. The battles go on. Despite what he did, we are suffering through other examples of voter fraud. We've seen that over in Portsmouth, there's an establishment over there that I call the Martha Fuller Clark voting fraud boarding house. And she had 5 people over there, and we kind of laugh about that. And we had 3 people living it up at former Democratic representative, chairman of the Education Committee, Emma Rouse's house. We have 3 Democratic operatives who have parachuted in, voted there. We have the vice president's daughter. This is what we've gained a national reputation. Niece, who's come in to steal our votes as New Hampshire residents. We have a long ways to go, but the fact that it is now recognized as a problem by everyone began with James O'Keefe's efforts. And there's one thing that he did that I have to tell you that I take personal pride in. His career started early. When he was at Rutgers, James O'Keefe and I probably share, I guess from our last names, an Irish-American background. So he went to the diversity department there, diversity officer, and he demonstrated how under their politically correct diversity rules, it was unfair, it was disgraceful that they were selling Lucky Charms. And I've often looked at that little green gnome on that cereal box, and I've thought to myself, just as James O'Keefe said, that even though I'm not evidence of it, all Irish Americans, all Irish people aren't short. Some are tall. It just diminishes all of us to be treated that way, and I really appreciate him bringing that forward. James O'Keefe is called by the Atlantic Monthly, the New York Magazine, Salon.com, Mother Jones, The Nation, New York Times, many, many names. I'm one of those individuals who's been called many names before. I saw that perhaps the kindest thing he was called was a right-wing stuntman. And he is that. And he's a muckraker. And he's a champion of free speech. And he's a champion of our First Amendment rights. And he's a great American, and it's my pleasure to introduce him.